most of the games that get released on a given year are complete bullshit. Of those games that are not bullshit, most of them lose their player base within 6 months. Anything that survives for 2 years or longer has players who will probably be playing that game 5 years down the line.
Welcome back to Gamified 168. I'm happy to be here. I'm Sam Stefanina, and up first on today's panel, he came up through Magic Eden and Soar Esports, and he's never met a Pokemon card he didn't like, so he built the Digital Collectors Club. It's Knock.
I'm literally in queue for the Pokemon Center right now, so that was a very timely introduction.
Disgusting.
Me too, because Dub is forcing it upon me, but otherwise
Dub has a problem, bro. Dub has a problem. He's not here because of this.
It's true. Next up, he ran games and digital for NBC Universal, and he also spent years running Club Penguin, where a generation of kids knew him only as Spike Hike. It is Mr. Chris Heatherly.
What's up?
Fresh cut. Fresh cut.
And this man is the voice of Parallel, one of the sharpest minds where games and collectibles collide. It is Mr. Koji Nagata.
What's going on, guys? I'm excited, man. We're the Odyssey is upon us, so I'm getting hyped.
This is your Super Bowl, isn't it?
It's not gaming related, but it's up there, man. I'm.
Is it ever Koji?
No.
Let me just say, Koji, that I'm going to see it on Friday at Grauman's Chinese Theater in 70 millimeter IMAX.
Ooh, shit.
Very nice, very nice. I'm seeing it on Monday. On Monday, it's on 70 millimeter IMAX. But yeah, all the screenings around here, because we only got three prints in 70 mil IMAX, have been sold out for like a year.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, when did you buy those tickets, Chris? Like it's fucking 2024. Up next, she built EA's very first research department and has helped call hits across more than 100 franchises. Nobody at this table has studied players' behavior for longer than Miss Robin Boyar.
Hey, great to be here again. Hope you're all doing well.
The returning MVP. Good to have you back, Robin. We're excited for that. And last but not least, a former naval officer before he built the Wolves Co. and Kaizuna. Now he'll build you a bespoke agent to dominate your industry with. It's Mr. Peyton Okalani Kapuvainu.
What's up? My dad came in from Hawaii and gave me a Navy Aloha shirt. So right on time, right on cue, just like the Pokemon from Knock. Chris, also, great hair, dude. Great hair.
Thank you.
Looking forward to today's show. Topic number 1, EA had paid progression in college football 27. What's the word? Because they put a cash register inside of your single-player career mode. No one is surprised, but everybody is seemingly outraged. College football 27 launched with the Road to Glory, an online dynasty that equated to spending real money to level up faster. And right before they put the shortcut on sale, EA quietly pulled the free XP sliders from the last 2 games and slowed the grind down. Players clocked it in about a day. Hashtag CFB play don't pay hit number 9 on US trends. Steam reviews went mostly negative, and inside of a week, EA folded with, quote, "We missed the mark." Classic. Paid progression is gone as of July 11th, but no refunds issued to the spenders. Panel, what's the word for this one? Let's kick it off with Mr. Chris Heatherly. What's your word, bud?
Deja vu.
Expected.
D-bags.
Knock.
Greed.
Hashtag. It could have hit like number 3 trending if it was better. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. It's true. There was some mileage still in the tank there. Chris, Heatherly, going to you first, man.
Didn't they do this with Battlefront and get their ass kicked all over the place? I remember when Bob Iger had to call them and say, yo, you got to stop this. Like, I have no problem with him. Obviously, I've made a lot of games of microtransactions. I have no problem with microtransactions. I'm one of the most commercial people you're ever going to find in the games industry. But people who buy premium games want to play those, feel like the value that they paid for is to play those games. And if you put monetization rails on the game that they bought in the base mode, they're going to be pissed. I don't know why this isn't obvious. Like EA always wants you to pay them $60 so for a ticket to pay them more money. Like I don't know when they're going to learn this lesson.
Well, it feels to me like the grass is always greener on the other side. Koji, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't this more of a standard practice in the East, the illustrious Chinese, Japanese, Korean market where they're not as offended by paid progression, and maybe they're just slowly but surely trying to whittle us away until we're okay with it over here too?
I mean, usually those games are given away for free, though, is the difference, I think. But the thing here, this is just like end game capitalism, right? Like this is we basically asked for this. We live in a world of shareholders and more, and flat profit is not enough. It has to be bigger. It always has to be bigger. It always has to be more. And so these guys are going to try and sneak it in any way they can. I'm going to bring it back to movies like I always do, but I remember buying VHSs and then getting previews for other movies in the movie that I purchased, right?
Yeah.
just because this failed, like this might have failed, but maybe they don't put microtransactions in, maybe they put real-time ads in. So like, and they'll make the argument, it's more like watching a real game on TV when an ad pops up when the guy's about to do his, and they'll just do it, and people will be like, oh, the immersion, right? And they'll just sell that ad space or something because they need to figure out a way to just extract max value out of everyone at all times. And we're just along for the ride, man. This goes hand in hand with the thing that Nock is always talking about, how we'll own nothing and be happy about it. This is like its step sibling. Like you'll get advertised to and pay for all the shit that you already paid for.
Peyton is slamming the button.
I'm flashing because Koji, like that's what NBA 2K does. Like it literally has the same like halftime show. It has literally advertisements everywhere. And NCAA obviously has been off the shelf for some bit, and it's been its quite return. But they've like optimized the crap out of 2K. EA is just trying to catch up. But Koji, that's coming. Don't you worry, it's coming.
Robin, you did research for EA for a long time. Super curious to hear your perspective here. And clearly with the word being D-bags, I assume you would not have advised them to go forward with this.
I mean, just as a record, that word is not in my vocabulary, but like I led research efforts for all of the EA Sports titles for 6+ years, right? And so like this is the sort of thing, to Chris's point, like they never learn. They relaunched the title a couple of years ago. Everyone loved it. There was a halo. Some people were even feeling like it's better than Madden, which has been in the toilet for the last number of years. And it's like, I'm not sure who at Redwood Shores is like, oh, let's just squeeze some dollars out of consumers, because like they have an opportunity to recapture sports, right? 2K has not built out that sports platform. There's a huge opportunity. It is pretty much the only moat on console right now that's defensible. And they keep on it's not even dumb mistakes at this point. It's just like evil. So it hurts me because I know what EA Sports used to be. I know how authentic it used to be. I knew the relationship between the customers and the community and the game developers. And this is like beyond evil in my humble opinion.
Damn, bangers from Robin right out of the gate. I'm curious from your perspective. They come to you, they say, Robin, we need to make more money out of this somehow. Does something come to mind for you as an alternative that you think would be more digestible? Or is it just, hey, you're getting plenty of money because you're already selling whatever 10 million copies every year at $80?
I mean, I think somebody needs to put a stake in the ground. I mean, consumers do not want to be spending, $80 on multiple titles, regardless, right? Now, sports in particular, it used to be there was a cohort that they would just pony up for 2, 3, 4 sports games because that was their gig. So I would actually tell them, like, go back to that value equation, right? Stop trying to make what everyone talks about FIFA. FIFA also is just like a cash cow, but that's just because they've over monetized it. And so that is not the future, because like when I talk to gamers, when I even talk to people in grocery stores, they're not playing the sports titles like they used to. And part of that is because they see that, the value equation is just how can we get more money out of you, which in certain, to Koji's point, there are definitely genres and regions where you can do that. But like, here's an opportunity to build back sports, and they're just being very short-sighted.
Totally agree with you there. Let's go over to Nock, then we'll circle back to Peyton again.
I mean, my biggest problem with sports games is what we see on screen right now can be any Madden or college NCAA game from 2012 until this moment in time. Right? Every game has looked basically exactly like this over the course of the last decade and a half. And I think typically when you think about transaction progression in games, it's to peacock, right? It's a multiplayer game. You can show other players the things that you have. This is part of the reason why like the Ultimate Team is so popular, right? You've got the ability to peacock with your team. It gives you an advantage over other players. These are microtransactions to make your own coach better in what is predominantly a single player mode. This is selling you the game and then blocking you from even progressing in the game with any reasonable rate unless you pay more money to progress in a solo player track. Like, I think the issue here is whoever is making the decisions at these sports titles have just so far removed from even losing the plot. Like the plot, it's been lost for a decade. And I think these decisions continue to reiterate the fact that, look, you're not making any changes to the actual core gameplay or mechanics itself. In fact, in the case of like NHL, you're actually removing core functionality from the games that you're regurgitating every single year. The physics engine is basically the same physics engine that it was, a decade ago. You have over monetization on the Ultimate Team side of things, and now you're asking me to pay for progression in a single player mode. I think it's absurd. It's not even NFL. And to Robin's point, they had something where they completely pissed everybody off with Madden. They had an opportunity to bring them back with the NCAA. They did for like a year and a half. And now the one thing that had people wanting to play NCAA, you've now capped behind, pay me more money to unlock progression within that system. I think it's stupidity. It's only driven by greed.
Time is a flat circle, Knock. Let's go over to Peyton.
Dude, Road to Glory is also one of my favorite game modes because like I think whenever I was playing NCAA, I was like going to college and the Road to Glory was fun. Like it's escapism at it, and that's also why I honestly play NBA 2K because I want to be Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and flop everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But I would say that like you just spam B. But like I would say the NFL like Street, NHL hits, MLB hits. Like I want those kind of games back. Like to Robin's point, like that is like the EA that I grew up with. And that's what I would love, like FIFA Street, any of those. And Robin, I do have a question for you, and this is also to Chris as well too. Is like, as a gamer and also as somebody that worked I'm obviously still a junior in the gaming industry, only like 5 years, but I would say that like, where is these decisions being made, right? And like, how is there able to be pushback? And I think that's where most of the frustrations come in from gamers. It's just like, is there anyone not advocating for the gamers? There has to be somebody telling them. Are they just saying to their advisors like you, Robin and Chris, like, screw you, I'm just going to go with it anyways? Like, what does that like boardroom look like?
I mean, Chris, do you know the inner workings of EA right now?
Not really.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like, I feel like EA management has always wanted to monetize more aggressively and has a like a chip on their shoulder that they're not monetizing as much as the Asian publishers. And I think they're probably always looking at something like Tencent, NetEase comparison and going, they have so much more spin depth and how do we leverage our blah, 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 blah. And look, like Robin said, they kind of, this is the cow that they have and they have to milk it.
Yes, he has no more milk. You still gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably some general manager who just wanted to make some more money and hit his bonus and whatever. I mean, it's
crazy.
What do you think, Robin?
I don't know what's going on in Laura Miele and Andrew Wilson's head. And I feel like I'm not sure who's head of EA Sports these days. I mean, this wouldn't have happened if Peter Moore was still around, but I mean, that's, ancient history at this point. So of course, I'm going to go and see who's head of EA Sports now, but I think they've just lost their way completely. And I don't know who's running the ship at this point, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, it's just very interesting.
This strikes me as like a problem that comes about as the result of a monopoly, right? If there's no reasonable alternative that's not going to do these things, then they're just going to keep trying them until eventually, people either say absolutely not, or they come up with something that people finally are willing to accept and spend more money on. Is that your read as well?
Yeah, I also think, look, consumers are to blame a little bit here as well. I'm part of the problem. I buy these games every single year. Like, I bitch and complain about them like I do with COD, and they released the same title. I played for a weekend and a half with my brother because we did that when we were kids. You used to get sucked into the songs on the loading screen. You'd play be a GM. You'd do all these things, and every year I get sucked into the trap. I buy it. I'm like, maybe we'll have an opportunity to relive that. And then I complain about the fact that the game has gone to shit. I think at some point, like we've seen this now twice with EA, at least twice in the last decade, where they have rolled out an incredibly aggressive microtransaction strategy. First with Battlefront almost 10 years ago at this point in time, where they rolled back that strategy. We're seeing it now again with NCAA. But in between that 10-year window was a bunch of really aggressive microtransaction strategies that didn't receive enough pushback for them to want to reverse course. Obviously, this was a calculated decision. They felt that they had more to lose by keeping this in the game than they did to gain by moving it out, or the inverse of that equation. So this was a calculated decision on their part, where they got enough pushback. They decided we were going to lose too many players. The overall monetization is actually going to be hurt if we force this into the game. Let's remove it and hope that spend gets picked up somewhere else. The problem is they've never felt that pressure, or haven't felt it to the same tune over the course of the last decade between Battlefront and this game. I think a bunch of bad decisions are being made from a management perspective. But then there's a question to be asked. Is it a bad decision if consumers will continue to absorb those decisions? And for EA, the answer has been consumers will absorb it. They're willing to pay more for this title year over year. They're willing to spend more. They're willing to get milked, as Chris mentioned here. And the problem is EA has no incentive to change that decision until they do. And that's what we're seeing with NCAA. So yeah, it's greedy, but it's also working. So you can't really blame them for it because consumers aren't pushing back hard enough.
Well, and I guess to Robin's point, that has been the Andrew Wilson legacy, in my opinion, is that some of the people who came before him, I think, were more gamer first, even though they were very aggressive, hyper aggressive business guys. But under Andrew, it's been kind of business first, gamers, hope you like it because that's what you're getting. And I think that's been the consistent theme.
Koji, you guys are like 6 expansions deep on Parallel, and I know that there's been varying levels of monetizing players at different times. How do you guys talk about something that might make a ton of money, but then also destroy goodwill on the other side of that?
I mean, again, we're in a different scenario because the game's free, right? We're not asking you to give us money to play the game and then asking you to further monetize while playing the game in order to have a better experience. And I think that's why people might be pushing back. But there's a lot of talk here about, the head of EA is fucking it up, for lack of a better term, or whatever. But I would argue that it's like you can't point the finger at one person, right? We live in a time that is increasingly more spend more, get less in everything. It's not just EA, and it's not just gaming, and it's not just the tech sector. Everywhere we can. Companies are trying to say, well, here, pay us more money and either get the same thing or less, right? And like we saw the most drastic expansion of that in COVID, when it was like, supply lines are shrinking or at a halt or whatever, so products are going to be more expensive. It's a COVID thing. Here we are, 6 years later or whatever, and nothing's gotten cheaper. It's not as if the supply lines are now choked. They're just like, who cares? We've boiled the frog. They're used to paying this much for this stuff. And I think that this is what EA was trying to do here, which is just sneak it in, behind the goalie or whatever the term is, and then just see if people noticed. And if they didn't notice, they'd be like, great, one more lever for us to pull. Unfortunately, people noticed. And so, what does that mean? That means they'll probably try it again in another 3 or 4 years, and then people won't notice, and they'll make money.
Peyton, giving you the last word, then we're moving on.
Yeah, for sure. I was just wanting to say a lot about what Chris was saying, is that EA wants to feels the pressure from NetEase or Tencent, and for me, the way that they built their games is also just very different, right? Like for EA, like you want your cake and eat it too, which is like, I want a box copy, but also I want to be able to monetize like Genshin. And that's just like not the way that currency or that economy worked. Like Miho like was brilliant in terms of resin and the grinding mechanism in terms that it took. And EA is trying to do that or trying to overlay on top of it. And it just like doesn't feel right because I'm also paying $60 for the freaking box. That's all I was going to say. I was just going to add on to Chris.
Yeah, well, we're going to move on to a topic that honestly is quite similar, but a little bit different. Finish this sentence. Sony will reverse its decision to stop making physical games only if blank. I'm looking for that blank. As we know, Sony's done making physical PlayStation games by 2028. But the previous topic got me wondering what exactly it would take for them to potentially reverse that decision. There was a post about Sony's PS Plus having about 50 million users or subscribers, excuse me. And so somebody was theorizing, well, what if they lost 500,000 users as a decision, or as a result of this decision? And the answer was, well, that's only 1% of their subscriber base. So that got me wondering, well, what if they lost 5 million subscribers? Would they then say, okay, we'll turn back on physical production? What if it was twice that, 3 times that? What would it take for them to finally go, you know what, enough is enough? We're not going to go around the horn on this one. I'm going to go to Knock first. Take us away, bud.
I don't think, I mean, I don't know, it becoming law, games becoming 1/10 the size of their current size. Like there's no incentive for Sony to reverse this. The other thing is like PS Plus subscribers it's a subscription service that also gives you access to games. So they're the absolute worst audience to be like, what if they just revolted and unsubscribed because their digital games that they're paying a subscription fee for are no longer available in physical? They don't care. I think the reality of it is, I was pissed off about this when it first got announced on this show, but I also gave the caveat that like this makes financial sense from Sony and then downstream Xbox perspective as well, right? Like the games are too large to live entirely on a disc in 99% of the cases. To Koji's point a couple weeks ago, most games have a day one patch anyway. So you buy the physical copy, you put it in the machine, you've got to download something to play the game regardless. I think what has happened is that games have just gotten so large that it's really difficult to keep them on a disc. You don't want to load up 3 or 4 discs to play
That's not
the game.
Question, Knock. The question is, what would it take for them to reverse it?
The answer would be law. The answer is a law has to come down that says you need to sell a physical copy of the game, in which case it still doesn't make sense because the game can exist on the physical copy. I think it's stupidity. There's no reason for them to ever reverse course here. It fucking sucks. I want physical games. I like collecting them. There's no reason for them to do so.
Koji, what's it going to take? I know you're an avid Blu-ray 4K collector. Your life hangs in the balance.
Them in the world.
Any real head is going to tell you that if you're watching 4Ks on your PlayStation, you might as well throw that shit in the trash. But what is it going to take? It's going to take hell freezing over, man. Like our iPhones don't have headphone jacks anymore. Phones don't come with chargers anymore. Like it's over, man. Like this goes back to what I was saying in the last topic. You will spend more money and get less product because we say so, and you'll be fine with it. And as far as like what will it take as far as like losing player base, look, it's like a calculation that sits on a scale because they can lose a whole bunch of those players, and what they gain is control over what was the secondary market. If you want to play a game, you have to pay full price to play that game. Period. Full stop. You're not buying used copies. You're not getting it from a friend. Things aren't going on sale in a store unless it's on the PlayStation Store or whatever. So like they could lose a whole bunch of customers and just make up that money on the people who really want to play PlayStation games. So I don't think it will ever make it come back. And especially in the wake of all the backlash they've already gotten, we look at the last topic, and we're like, oh, this was like the third most trending hashtag, and they decided to reverse the decision or whatever. Like we had other corporations dunking on Sony, being like, look how dumb this decision is. And they're like, you guys are dumb. We're still doing it. Like there's no way they're walking it back now, because at the end of the day, they're going to be stuffing money in their pockets, especially because in the world, like in the console war, forget about video games, but like consoles in general, there really only are 2 at this point. Like Xbox exists, but like if you are a serious high-end max specs, quote unquote, gamer, you're playing PlayStation. And if you want to have fun or you have kids, you're playing Nintendo, and that's it. Right. So like they know that people are going to buy that shit because there's nowhere else for them to be playing it on TV. You can make the argument about Steam Deck or whatever, but all of that is like way too complicated. And, whether or not the specs are good enough to run this Steam game versus that. No, like people don't want that. People just want, give me a game that says PlayStation on it. I load it up on my PlayStation and it works the way that it's intended to. And that's what's going to happen. And they're going to make money and they know it. So it'll never come back.
Chris, give the people hope. Give them a blueprint. If I'm listening to this and I would like to revolt in a way that'll make PlayStation resume the production of physical discs, what do I need to do? Who do I need to rally?
I would cry until the ocean is full of your tears. I think at this point, people are lucky if they get another console generation. I just posted something on LinkedIn from S&P that did analysis of projected game console sales to 2030, and they're projecting that even with a new PS6 and a new Xbox, that will only get back to slightly around 2020. I think it was 2024 levels of console sales. So, I mean, this whole format of, we talk about it every week. Premium, consoles is under threat right now from AI and hardware costs. And, that you have to adapt. You have to adapt to the world that you're in order to survive. So, I mean, they can be mad about it, but I'm still mad that Toys R Us closed down. And Blockbuster closed down, but it's reality.
Knock, let's go to you and Peyton.
Yo, what?
I get the double dip.
Negative. Anyways, all I want to say is that Asha Sharma should definitely say that they should do the ad that PlayStation did back in the day, whenever Xbox did this back in 2013, which is, I'm looking it up real quick. Xbox, this is how you share a game. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I remember I was an Xbox fanboy, and Xbox came out with like, hey, there's like going to be like a console that's not going to have this, and everybody was like revolting, and PlayStation did like something petty. Xbox should just do the same. That's also what I wanted to say. Go ahead, Knock. Sorry, I can't believe it got passed.
I think like barring law, which I think is unrealistic. I'll give you one alternative that is equally unrealistic, but might actually have something to say with this. There are 6 big retailers that sell consoles and sell games: Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop, Target, Sam's Club, Costco Combo, and then Amazon. If they come together in a coalition and bully Sony, maybe you've got physical discs, but they're going to want a piece of that money, right? Like that. This is a revenue stream that disappears for all of those companies as they make this decision, because Sony is going to be selling direct to consumer, and they can just simply say, we won't put the console in the shop unless you have physical games that we can also sell so that we get a piece of this. It's not going to happen. It's like Koji said, if hell freezes over.
Knock. They're selling boxes with codes in them, though, still in store.
Yeah, I understand, but they're still selling. So, like, they still have the physical games, right? Like, nobody's going to go to Walmart to buy a code when you can just buy that fucking code on the PlayStation you have in your living room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, maybe there's, like, some big
your mom's in Walmart,
coalition, but...
You know what I mean? But your mom's the one that you can tug on. It's like, hey, look at that box. Can I have it? And your mom isn't reading the news reports that it's on freaking online.
Look, that's
speak for your own mom, Peyton.
Them together, but it's not going to work.
Robin, tagging you in.
I think what we haven't seen yet, which is really upsetting, is that we're seeing this degradation of the core gamer. Okay. So, what's happening, and we haven't seen it yet, is that we have all of these millennials that grew up in the aughts on console. Those don't exist. The younger audiences are not gravitating to console. So console, even if you look at just global, share, is like 27%, I think, according to Newzoo. It's somewhere around there. So what concerns me is that the core, hardcore, enthusiastic, young male gamer is what built this industry. Okay? And so if we are seeing that the foundation for this gamer is going away, and gaming is social, and so what it used to be is that this core gamer would then bring their friends in. Everybody had that one friend, or they were that friend that like knew the hottest games to play, is that then gaming as an industry becomes less relevant. And I think that's where we are right now, is because we still have these millennials and to a lesser extent Xers who are like supporting and buying, titles like First Light. They're still playing on console. We're excited about NCAA football, but I think that that's going away, and I think we haven't recognized what's going to happen when that core audience dissipates.
It is sad, Robin. You're talking to me though. Like, I'm serious. Like, I was that person that like really rallied my friends and be able to play all this Xbox stuff, and that's also why I convinced them. I hate PlayStation, so like I rallied all of them to play Xbox, and then they got me into WoW, which Sam was already camping in with his Max character at Ironforge. But I would say that the thing that I would say is that, for me as a parent, so I have 4 kids for people that don't know on Gamified, which yes, that's a lot of kids. But like for me, like I definitely have a heart towards console. And so as a millennial parent, like I definitely probably would go for the Switch. But like even now as I grow up, I'm just like, okay, well, do I do it as like a PC? Because like everything is PC. And my kids would be better if they knew mouse and keyboard. That's like kind of like what I think about. I know that sounds dumb, but as a parent, you just think about everything about in terms of the lens of your kids. And from like, hey, Jackson actually, it would just be better for him to play Minecraft, not on Xbox, but on, mouse and keyboard, because he's going to be prompting with mouse and keyboard.
On a GameCube.
Yeah, on the GameCube. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe he's, moving Steve with word dictation. I don't know. That's one of the things that I'm just like really thinking about in terms of millennials being parents. I definitely would buy them a Nintendo Switch, but after that, I think I would just go straight to PC. I wouldn't go to Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah, millennials are learning what it's like to be middle-aged, where nobody cares about you anymore, and you're culturally irrelevant.
Don't you say that, Chris. You care about me, right, Chris? Right?
I care about you a lot.
Thank you, Chris. See?
But do you care about Chris, Peyton? I think is the question.
That's the bigger question, isn't it?
His haircut was amazing, dude. He looked amazing.
Koji, I see you lit up. What's up, man?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that we haven't discussed yet this week is GTA, right? Like they have that in their back pocket, right? It doesn't matter, discs, no discs, this, that, whatever. Yeah, okay. They like Rockstar got cold feet and we're like, okay, dial back some of the promotion right now while people are shitting on you. But you think once that game comes out that PlayStations aren't flying off the shelves and people aren't flocking to the PlayStation store and buying that stuff digitally and are thinking twice about discs? No. Even the people who are complaining about, oh, there's no disc for my GTA or whatever, they're buying it. They're going to play it. What are we talking about?
What if Rockstar came out and they said, put it on ice. We're not releasing GTA 6 until PlayStation resumes the creation of discs in perpetuity.
You're never getting that fucking game.
I mean, that would be incredible. And that maybe is hell freezing over. But
that is, yeah. That's the equivalent of the gaming world hell freezing over for sure.
All right, we move on. Colin Neese, friend of the show, had a great stat. And it's a number that should probably terrify all of us. 84% of all attention in gaming goes to games 2 years or older. Everything released in the last 12 months is under 10% of the total gaming attention online. And Colin's read of it is that discovery is broken, so people just keep playing what they own. To my illustrious panel, let's go hunting. I'm asking you guys, where is the underpriced attention right now? If you had to spin up a brand new gaming venture, where would you be looking for the next big hit? If you're putting VC capital somewhere, where would you put that VC capital? Whatever it may be. Again, not going around the horn on this one, just going to give it to you guys. Koji, going to you first on this one.
Look, man, I think that we're a little bit short-sighted when it comes to some of this stuff, and myself included. Again, one more time, I'm going to bring it back to movies. But like last year, 2 years ago, everyone was like, the movie industry's dead. It's over, right? Like, Marvel movies that were like the king of the hill look like shit. Nobody wants to go see them. No one's making blockbusters anymore. Even the smaller movies aren't making money. Blah, 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 blah. The reason why this stuff isn't going well is because we don't have enough hits. And the reason for that is because of COVID, right? Like we forget that these things take a long time to make, right? And during COVID, the entire industry, no matter what it was completely disrupted, right? And we're now just seeing the after effects of that. I mean, we have been, but we're continuing to see the after effects of that, right? It's not until few like I said, COVID was 6 years ago, but really like maybe up until about 4 years ago, the whole thing was all messed up. Like that's about the horizon. So like I would put my I would be worrying if next year everything was also garbage. But I think that really what it comes down to is just like we're getting over the hump and things are starting to come back. And you see that right now, even with the film industry, right? It's just now this year starting to regain its footing after, losing traction for so long. And I think gaming is the same thing. So I don't think it's as bad a stat as you think it is. It's just because we don't have enough to sustain what people want. I think that with the advent of mobile gaming and it being more accessible, more popular, etc., you have people looking back to older games that they can port to mobile in order to play those games, and that's probably padding the stats a little bit as well. But I say just give it a little bit more time, and I promise you, I think that things are going to be right back where they were.
So that stat in particular, Koji, you're saying that you expect more attention to distribute itself towards newer games because newer games will be better as they come out over the next year or two?
Well, and they'll be more plentiful and more interesting, like more able to sort of capture the zeitgeist, right? Because we there was a time when new games were coming out left, right, and center, and it was like the talk of the town into COVID, into something like Elden Ring or whatever. Like it didn't matter who it was if they couldn't even spell Dark Souls, and they were like, Elden Ring's my favorite game, right? And now we have less and less of like for lack of a better term, like the water cooler game. But I think that we're going to get back to that, starting probably because everyone's holding off, starting with GTA and then rolling out from that. We're going to get to a point where, games are a bit more monocultural again, and we get more and more hits rolling out, I think. And that stat is always going to be high. There's always going to be people looking backwards because new hardware is expensive and to keep up with it is expensive. So looking back is a little bit cheaper and blah, 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 all these factors. But rather than it being in the 80 percentile, maybe we're looking at the 60s or 50s.
Okay.
That'd be a massive redistribution. Let's go to Chris, who gave you the mic drop. Then we'll go over to Robin. Chris, where's the underpriced attention in your mind?
I mean, the underpriced attention is always on Steam and on Roblox, right? I mean, those are the two places you can break through that. And those are the only two parts of the games industry that are really growing. I posted a bunch of data today. There was a great newsletter that came out that I linked to that had a ton of data. And I posted a bunch of stuff from it and put the link in every one of those. So check it out on LinkedIn. But it went through, all of these categories. And I mean, mobile gaming is significantly down when you factor in inflation. Maybe some of that is D2C not being calculated in. But I think overall, downloads are down and spending is down. It's really, and if you look at it, Roblox is really, stealing share from traditional mobile games. So it's Steam, it's where people can find discovery. I mean, where do you find out about games now? If you're a capital G gamer, you go to Steam, right? Or your buddies on social media, or you watch streaming. There's also in that data a thing about Twitch and what games have been trending on Twitch. Most of those are big Steam games. So, it's all on Steam. A lot of these friend slop games, I think Robin nailed it earlier when she said that, gaming has become, very social, and that's a huge generational shift. And you're just seeing that in all the things that are working. And I think Koji totally nailed it too, which is COVID fucked everything up and fucked up a lot of these productions. I think the acquisitions and a lot of people getting fat and happy was a big part of it. There's a lot of pain, a lot of painful reckoning going on, and we all have to wear the hair shirt for a little while. But I do think that there will be an equalizing coming out. But look, you are today. If you make a game, you're competing against every game ever made. You know, the new Assassin's Creed Black Flag dropped and did, you know, the remake and did 2 million copies in a day. You know, so you're competing against all the greats getting re-released, and you've just got to bring it.
Just got to bring it. Seems easier said than done. Knock, you're dying to get in. I said I would go to Robin, though. I'll circle back to you. Robin, go ahead.
I mean, I think all really great points. I think the thing is that Newzoo had a similar, statistic probably about 1.5 2 years ago. It was like 96% of all the time spent on games, or 94%, or somewhere around there. What I think you have to recognize is that from the supply side, who is going to invest in new IP? So I would have to I was thinking about this today. I was like, what was the last IP that UB, dropped that was original IP? And I was like, was it Watch Dogs? Guys, help me out here. But I think a couple of things is, it's going to come from Roblox and Steam, as many of you have noted, but also the larger companies, and there are a few of them now. I mean, where is Warner? We don't know where Warner is. We don't know what Paramount is going to do. So we know what EA is going to do. 2K, who knows? So so who is going to invest in new AAA IP? And so I think the problem is that this is going to be a statistic that's going to be around for a while. And, people don't want to spend $500 million to invest in IP and let it fail. And that's what they've seen.
Yeah, it seems like anytime a new game does come out right now, it just doesn't seem to have the staying power that some of these legacy titles do have. 100%. Knock, going to you, then to Peyton.
What the fuck are we talking about? Is this not just survivorship bias? Is this not what this is? 80% of all music is 2 years older. 80% of all TV shows watched are 2 years or older. 80% of all movies that people consume are 2 years or older. 99% of everything that comes out in a given year is complete bullshit. But when you have 100 years of a catalog leading up into this year, of course, more people are going to pay attention on older games, especially when you have the era of forever games, like all the MMOs that are live, things like Fortnite. Like, this is not a stat that is surprising to me in any capacity, and it's not a stat that is going to change with more investment into the gaming industry. It's not a stat that's going to change with newer titles coming out. It is part of human nature. Most of the games that get released on a given year are complete bullshit. Of those games that are not bullshit, most of them lose their player base within 6 months. Anything that survives for 2 years or longer has players who will probably be playing that game 5 years down the line. So, of course, most of the attention is focused on older titles. This is not like a new thing. This shouldn't be surprising to anybody. This is true across every single category of media and entertainment on the planet. Older things garner more attention because they've been around for longer. You're more familiar with them. They're less bullshit than the new things that are coming out. This is not a surprising stat.
Well, where's the underpriced attention then, Knock? If
you want to grab the underpriced attention, give me a BTS. Give me something like what Tiny Glade did. This team was excellent in their go-to-market strategy. They showed us every part of building that game. They showed us the rationale. They gave us short-form content. They did AMAs. They did real on-the-ground development of these titles. I think that if you want to break through and you want to cut through the noise, you have to differentiate yourself. And you don't differentiate yourself with $100 million media campaign and commercials. You differentiate yourself with showing us the team who's building the product.
Man, freaking Knock, brother. Let's go.
Where do you think it is, Peyton? If you had to put a mill somewhere, where
dude. Oh man, I first gotta find it. You know what I'm saying, big dog. So in terms of that side of things, I think Polymarket has kind of shown us that kind of direction, right? Is like interactive entertainment. I think is where I think I would put my.
You're putting it in
like, well, not gambling, but like, like in terms of Kalshi and Polymarket, they are overlaying something that is like happening, and they want to do something together. Right. And so I think like in terms of I think you also sent it to me too, Sam, the Marvel Rivals, in terms of like the Twitch Rivals, where they if you like chat something inside of Twitch, it like blows up the screen and it's messing up the other person. I think those community types of things. And so like and like maybe that's like a loose form of gaming, right? But I do think that like with the birth of AI and like more stuff, like the thing that we have in the back end of Lems that he did, right? Lems is like our digital Jamie behind the scenes, but like he is making this more interactive for us and making it more gaming intensive and making it more tailored towards a niche audience. And so it might not be like so investable, but at the same time, smaller audiences can have a very unique style of a gamification that we never had before because of the birth of AI. And we were just talking about this before, like Fable and GPT Soul has been honestly crazy, or Codex Soul. Sorry for the AI enthusiasts out there. But yeah, there's like a lot of things that are just changing. And I think that you're going to see something pop up like kind of like FriendSwap did, where it was just like, hey, this seems like it shouldn't work, but it is working. And like, okay, maybe it is just pumping out a game for $7.99 every month because we have a good asset and good digital asset, and like you build it from an infrastructure standpoint that you can build multiple, maybe two times a month. It's kind of crazy. And so I think that's where I would go, is more like, okay, how are these game studios that are going to be pumping out more and having more shots on goal have a higher chance of success instead of the High Guard, the Supervive, RIP, and Concord Suicide Squad, which Knock went viral off of the Concord one that we did shot together. But yeah, and so I think that's where I would put my $1 million if I ever have found it somewhere underneath my pillowcase. Probably not. So yeah.
Koji, last word.
Yeah, man. If I had $1 billion to invest in this stuff, I'd somehow figure out a way to invest in older games and help them put them on sale or something. Like I'd take Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, give it like 60% off or 70% off on Steam, and be like, let the dollars roll in. Because I mean, as a Binding of Isaac enthusiast, and I know that you are one, Sam. They have right now, like in the last week or so, have had the most concurrent players they've ever had in the history of the game.
That's crazy.
And that's because the entire game with all the DLC or whatever was on sale for like $4 or $5 or something. Mm-hmm. And it absolutely went through the roof. And like now on my Twitter timeline, or X timeline, excuse me, it's something that I never see, which is a whole bunch of Binding of Isaac content, like people discovering it for the first time and playing it. Now, obviously, this adds to that 70% stat, but I think that like if that's what people want, give it to them and give it to them cheaper. Remonetize things that have kind of not died on the vine, but kind of like receded in the consciousness, and bring them back to the forefront, right? Like for all the Baldur's Gate heads out there, you remarket them Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 and be like, hey, you love Baldur's Gate, here's the same thing but slightly different, and they'll probably pay you for it, right? So
Koji's solution to people only playing old shit is just to sell them more old shit, which is I mean fair. It seems like good business.
Yeah, why not? Give the people what they want, man. We live in a world where you can like fly dirt bikes and have fights on the White House front lawn. Like, why not remonetize a bunch of old garbage that nobody thought they wanted anymore? And just like,
what a parallel!
Just keep feeding slop.
That is
you
what's
just
happening.
Keep feeding slop to the people. Yeah,
that's the summer Steam sale, dude. But you can't make any money. You can't invest in that. How are you going to make money off it? Where are you going to put your money?
Let's buy some old games that have like gone fallow and then put them on sale and try and resell them.
Koji just reinvented Web3 gaming.
He did it. You round tripped it. It took 6 years, but we got there.
Do what you know. Do what you know.
Do what you know. We move on. Sweeney versus Steam. You guys run Valve. Do you cut the fees of Steam to land Fortnite, League of Legends, and the other live service giants that refuse to go on the platform because, as Tim Sweeney argues, Steam's cut is so steep that the biggest developers like Epic, Riot, and MiHoYo would rather run their own stores than pay it. Steam takes 30% of games that have earned $50 million or more, 20% of games that have earned $50 million or more, and 30% of games up until their first $10 million earned. There we go. Finally got it. But here's the catch. All these giants are free to play. Their money's in V-Bucks, gacha, etc., sold through their own gaming systems. Potentially nothing that Steam could even tax. It depends on how that breaks down. So Sweeney's pitch is that charging less might actually earn Steam more. You're about to tell me whether he's right or wrong. Knock, I know you were passionate about this one in the pre-show. Go ahead.
This is another stupid this is a phrasing for the stupid people. If you can't read between the lines, what Tim Sweeney is actually saying is charge us less and leave the fees the same everywhere else. He's not suggesting that Steam slashes their fees in half to allow these giants to come on board. What he's saying is give Epic a 10% fee and we'll launch Fortnite on Steam, because in order for Steam to make their money or to even remain flat, if they cut their fee by half, they need to double their third-party revenue, which is in the tens of billions of dollars. I think last year would have been almost $15 billion in third-party revenue through the Steam platform. That's never going to happen. They're never going to cut their fees in half to hopefully bring on Riot Games and Fortnite so that they can maybe capture a couple $100 million of volume on non-gacha purchases or non-microtransactions. That's not going to fly. What Tim Sweeney is saying is cut our fees to 10%, and 10% of maybe some of the things that we can monetize on is better than no percent of the fees that we can monetize on. That's the argument here. That's what he's pitching, and he's probably right. But the idea that Steam would slash fees across the board and would somehow find an additional $15 billion of third-party transaction volume across their platform is asinine. It's never going to happen. What Tim Sweeney is saying is if you drop it to 5 or 10%, we'll launch the game on the platform. There's a marginal increase for you, maybe a couple $100 million over the course of X number of years. But this is not a cut your fees across the platform. That will never happen. The math doesn't math for Steam.
Koji, why do you think Sweeney is still fighting these battles if Knox says it's never going to happen? What's going on here?
I mean, probably just to get his name out there into the world, man. This whole thing is so stupid. It's so dumb. I agree with Knock, but it also just goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the show, which is just like the argument is like they could have more. They don't need more. Why do they need more? They're already getting more from other places. Why do they? It's like, no, they could be bigger, though. They could have more of your money. And like, it's not enough that they already corner the entire PC industry. They need to like stomp out every ounce of competition so that every dollar that is ever spent on PC gaming has gone through Steam. That's what we're arguing about. It is absolutely insane. This is like, I mean, I wish my Greek pronunciation was better, but this is like the mythological figure who's just always hungry, right? Like, he's cursed with insatiable hunger. It's just like no matter how much food you eat, no, it's got to be more. It's got to be more. It's got to be more. Where the idea that like Steam needs to lower its fees in order to get more fees from bigger games is asinine. It could ignore these games completely and just every other small to mid-tier game that comes out and a bunch of the other big ones are just going to make it up in spades, right? Like I don't think that they need that they need Epic or Fortnite or any of that stuff in order to be a profitable company or an immensely profitable company. So like to argue like, hey, we need like an extra 2% on our stat sheet or whatever, so we should do this thing is like so fucking stupid.
It is ironic that he would do this at the same time as Steam literally recording record revenue for the year so far. Chris Heatherly, let's go to you and then we'll tag Knock back in.
I'm sort of torn because I know Tim is a big fan, listens to the pod, and I'm a big fan of his as well. And I love everything he's done for gaming. And look, I was glad that he sued Apple because they're total monopolists who have crushed the mobile gaming business with their draconian and self-centered decisions that are allegedly for our privacy that they never respect themselves. But it's starting to feel like a player hater campaign where it's like, I mean, I agree with Tim that like, yeah, 30% is obnoxious, but you know, like he's always starting shit with his competitors. And I don't mind that. I mean, Elon throws a lot of shade and I love it when he does it, but you know, like, Epic is not in the greatest shape. He's laid a lot of people off. Fortnite numbers are going down. You know, like this new UE6 announcement wasn't, you know, universally well received. I feel like Tim needs to, you know, walk the talk and just build his shit up and be a better alternative. And, you know, then he can throw some shade. But I think the nonstop attacking of other game companies that, especially Steam, that like, look, do I find the 30% obnoxious? Yes. But Steam is the best platform in gaming right now, period, end of sentence, no question about it. It's the only place where indies are getting discovered. So like I always said this about Apple when I was a mobile game developer. I was like, I'll gladly pay them the 30% when I'm getting fucking featured and you know, just being there gets me growth. I'll gladly pay the 30%. It's when you're getting no growth and you're actually having to spend enormous amount of money to drive traffic to their store, and then they want a 30% cut. That's when I think it gets tough. And so, you know, Steam has been a net positive for gamers. You know, should it be lower? Maybe, but they're just not the problem.
Yeah.
Damn, banger.
Roblox takes 70%
Roblox
Yeah.
takes 70%. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Got him.
Do they do anything to help feature people? It's just an algorithmic discovery based on.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they do more though, right? It's a whole go to market. Like they host your game, they provide the technology, they provide it in-game ads, they provide like you don't need a tech team, you don't need a publishing team, you don't need all kinds of stuff that you would normally need, right? So they provide a lot of that for you, but they take a bigger cut, and it's an obnoxious cut. People still pay it because there's a lot of benefit to the platform. So
Right.
Yeah, good point. Robin, tagging you in. Let's go to Knock.
Yeah, Chris said a lot of what I was going to say. I mean, I don't know Tim Sweeney. Apparently, he's bought up lots of forest land, which, if that's true, I respect that for being eco-friendly. But I think that the issue is these monopolistic storefronts. Let's just call them what they are, right?
Yeah.
Steam and Apple, Roblox. Like, they are working, they have captured the audience. So unless Lena Khan decides to come back, and, you know, God, let's hope not, that doesn't happen. They are what they are. And I think, you know, to Steam and Gabe's credit, I don't know him personally, like, he built a great service. So, you know, it wasn't like horrific in terms of the service that they provide. I think that, to what Chris is talking about, what Tim Sweeney needs to do is really look at his P&L and say, like, I don't know, how's the engine doing? How's Fortnite doing? I've taken all this money from, you know, other companies. Where's that Disney collab? Like, you know, like, he needs to just batten down the hatches. And I think it's fair to say at this point that, like, you know, the Epic Games Store doesn't work. What's really the value there? You know, obviously you need to have it because you want a pathway and a portal to Fortnite, but then where's Fortnite going? Mm-hmm. So, you know, in summary, I think that, you know, he really needs to look at his bottom line. He's taken on a lot of money. He's still private. And, like, how are they really contributing? I don't know. So that's kind of, I think they need to clean up their own. To quote Candide, he needs to tend to his own garden.
Yeah.
And by the way, Steve Allison just left, who was head of the Epic Games Store this week, to go to Sabre as their chief business officer. And they gave him a huge hunting license. We talked about hunting licenses last week, but they gave him a huge war chest to go make Epic Games, the Epic Games Store work. And he's been there for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. You know, great guy and a good friend of mine. But you don't leave a role like that if you think that you're just about to crack the code, right? Mm-hmm. So I think he's moving on because they've thrown a lot of money, like tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars at this, and haven't pulled it off. So, I mean, you know, when they're able to build their own Steam, then I think, or anything that's remotely competitive, then I think they get to talk shit.
Yeah, would agree.
Not to put words in anybody's mouth, but it does seem like we're borderline, like starting to question the sort of Sweeney decision making and legacy over the past 5 or 6 years, where we were having a similar conversation about Xbox just last week, where it's like, well, you're taking all this money from Roblox or from Minecraft, excuse me, and you're reinvesting it in these other places that are just straight up hemorrhaging that money.
Right.
And Fortnite has been a textbook case of that, right? We're going to try to make Epic Games Store work. We're going to try to subsidize these other things, and UEFN, trust us, it's the future. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. And then Roblox just maybe eats their lunch on that side. Is it maybe the case that we've just been spending that money in the wrong direction for the past 5 or 6 years instead of tripling down on what was actually making the money in the first place? Knock, I think you wanted to tag back in, and let's go to Koji.
Yeah, I mean, like, somebody needs to, I don't know, smack Tim every time he has one of these ideas to yell at somebody else. Like, I got it, and I was behind it on the Apple front. Like, I think it was a battle worth fighting, and I'm glad that he did what he did. But it's over. Like, let's focus on all of the shit internally in Epic. Like, this is a guy who's building a competitive platform to Steam, a platform that by all metrics is failing, telling Steam how to make their platform more money. Focus that energy internally. Your platform doesn't make any fucking money. Like, to me, this is it is just stupidity to have this amount of energy be focused on competitive platforms while allowing everything else internally to not only catch on fire, but remain on fire for the better course of the last decade. They had a great moment when Fortnite launched. They had like a 4-year run, and literally you start to see the decline of Fortnite as an economic powerhouse as soon as he gets into these legal battles. And now Tim gets a little bit of a win against Apple, and he starts pointing fingers elsewhere. I think it's stupidity. I think he needs to focus internally, fix the things that they're doing. Unreal Engine is not doing well. Fortnite is not doing well. The acquisition of even what is the name of the game? Rocket League. Thank you. The acquisition of Rocket League did well for a short period of time. Everything is failing internally, and he's still here pointing fingers. I think he needs to look internally, fix these issues, instead of telling Steam, the company who's making $3.5 billion a year in revenue, how to fix their shit.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with Doc here. I think that the world has learned a lesson otherwise, right? We live in Trump's America, where all you have to be is loud and constant, and maybe you can succeed. And I think that's what he's trying to do, right? Like, we see it, I'll point a finger at Chris here. We see it with like Gavin Newsom, right? He's doing his best Trump impression, and he's getting clicks, and he's getting seen on TV and whatever. And maybe Tim is our version of like a Trump or a Gavin Newsom in the gaming industry, right? Like, he's gotten a couple wins under his belt, and now he's just trying to parlay that into more and more mindshare, being like, you guys need to do this, and you guys need to do that. And like, there's probably enough people out there being like, yeah, this guy's right. Like, these greedy game companies shouldn't be taking all these fees or whatever, regardless of whether or not they're actually passing that on to the consumer. I think he's like actually in like 2026 terms trying to sell himself in the way that like we've now taught people to be like, this is the way that you act in a public sphere to get attention, which is like, be the biggest shitbag in the world and never shut the fuck up.
Does it matter though, Koji? Even it doesn't everybody agree? I'm pretty sure everybody I've ever met is like, yeah, 30% is egregious, and yeah, they have a monopoly.
Yeah, but
or a duopoly. It doesn't matter because Apple doesn't agree.
But it doesn't matter because like, I'll bring it back to Trump for a second. When he's like, hey, I want to drain the swamp, no one's going to be like, no, actually what we need is more corruption in the government, right? Like, everyone's going to be like, yeah, let's get rid of the corrupt people, right? Like, making statements that everyone is going to agree with is like the best way to get people on your side, even if they're fucking nonsense.
Dude, the problem is, in the case of Trump and Newsom, they have a personal brand that if I say a bunch of things that people agree with, now I like that guy, I'm going to vote for that guy. No one's going to hear Tim Sweeney go, Apple shouldn't charge 30% and go, you know what? I need to download Fortnite right now. That's not going to solve the problem.
That was the first thing I thought about. Come on now.
Not yet, but if he builds up enough like
brand equity,
well, like in himself, right? Like, in the same way that like Elon can launch SpaceX IPO, and obviously it's not doing as great as it did when it first launched, but like the idea that everyone was just trying to clamor to buy it pre-launch because like it's Elon, like it has nothing to do with what the company actually does or what the product does. It has to do with the person. And so maybe he's trying to build himself up to be a personality. He needs enough cult of personality cultivated in order to just like people would be like, yeah, okay, Tim Sweeney, I'm in.
I gotta say though, Elon versus Sam Altman is like the Ollie Foreman of our time. Like, you're really watching two like two high grade mind fuckers at the peak of their powers.
And it's happening in slow motion. It's instead of a 9-round fight that's over in an hour, this is slowly drawn out one tweet at a time for 4 years. It's
Yeah,
so
fuck,
bizarre.
man. Release the movie where Andrew Garfield plays Sam Altman, man. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it's like it's caught in like development, or not development hell, but in like financing hell right now because Amazon is refusing to release it or whatever. They're scared of it.
Do it.
Peyton, you have the hand up. Go ahead.
I can end it, but like I think they're just like they need to focus on like distribution, right? Like if they want to win this battle with Steam, is that they're not even at parity with like Steam festivals or any of that stuff. Like they're not doing any of it, right? As like a Epic Games launcher or anything. Like maybe even just like go really into your bag and go to just Fortnite and fix that discovery, right? And figure out that type of stuff for UGC and make it worthwhile for people. And then also like look at their YouTube. Their YouTube. Epic Games has 592K subscribers. Like their last video was a day ago and it has 289 views. That's Epic Games, Sam. 289 views. And that should never happen. Like they should figure out, like they have all of this attention. They're just not leveraging the tools that they have. I think it's just because they've been so sporadic and all over the place. Yeah, like Marvel Rivals on their YouTube channel, season 9.0 trailer, 5 days ago, 1.6K views. Wow. You should be ashamed. You should just shut down your YouTube channel. You know what I mean?
Really impressive to be able to give away that much free shit over the course of like 7 years and build such little goodwill, culture, or brand that people want to be associated with at all.
Yeah.
Like that is impressively bad.
Just get a bunch of content creators, freaking make it a distribution platform that people actually want to be hosted on and be a part of, and make it just more fun and more out there. I just think that they need to figure something out in terms of distribution, and they need to be at least matching parity with Steam, because those festivals, whenever I was publishing a game for Champions, I was looking at all the festivals in which that Steam had, and festivals were all over the place. There was like, I don't know, 70 plus festivals throughout the year that you could go in and apply, and different types of ones and segmenting. To Chris's point, Steam has kind of solved that distribution for indies. And it's the only way for somebody to be discovered. Well, dude, there's no festivals at all. There's like maybe one banner in which that you can put in terms of Epic. But like, dude, the process in which that I did, I actually applied, and then all of those guys got let go. And so I couldn't even be on a banner. I'm just like, yo, what's going on? And then they went into like the AI stuff in terms of like looking at the application process. But I was just like, dude, this is so frustrating. Like, you guys got to give us more opportunities to be on your platform to be able to publish with you guys. And Steam is giving us 7 festivals and you guys are giving us nothing. Like, we're not going to publish there, or we are going to publish, but no one's going to go there. You're not doing anything.
Yeah, doing it more as like a checkbox item than being like, oh, we're going to make an actual push here. We move on. Oh, sorry, Robin, actually, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I mean, I think the other thing to think about, which is a real issue in gaming, is that, management generally thinks, okay, I have one successful title, then I'm going to then grow some franchises. And I think that what most people need to recognize, and I'm sure Bobby Kotick is just, I don't know where Bobby Kotick is. Maybe he's in a
on a beach somewhere, Robin, that's for sure.
Right. But he really had the foresight to say, okay, you know what, we're just going to double down on a couple of key franchises, and then we're just going to, and let them run. And so, if you look at like Riot, you look at like Epic, it's like, you get a taste of success. EA did this. They had all that success with their sport titles, and then they went and acquired a bunch of, studios and had mixed success. It's like, sometimes it's like, it's okay. Now, granted, I don't have that chromosome to be like a sociopathic megalomaniac that needs to rule the world like Elon. But at some point, you just got to be like, hey, if we have a successful title, let's just keep it and just keep doing it until it just slowly goes into the ground and live our lives. And I think like people don't, want to do that.
Amen.
It's not sexy enough.
I have that chromosome, by the way, and I feel like I've really under-delivered on my potential to be,
You let me know whenever you're ready to lean in, Chris. I'll follow you.
I'm ready to go full megalomaniac any day. I am putting myself up for election for the megalomaniac that can fix this business.
Amazing.
I mean, anyone who follows him on LinkedIn knows he's on his way to go full megalomaniac.
100%.
I am the people's megalomaniac.
I've always called him the Gavin Newsom of gaming LinkedIn.
Oh, stop that. No, that's not, although I do have the hair. I have good hair.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, I'm in Colorado. I'm near Aspen. If I find a billionaire in the next 2.5 weeks that just wants to revamp gaming, I'll let you guys know.
All right, thanks, Robin. Good looking out.
I hear they're falling out. They're falling out of windows. Everywhere you go, you're tripping over billionaires that are ready to fix gaming. So I look forward to that. We move on. This is actually very topical. Topic number 5: crash or redistribution. I'm asking you guys to look at the industry in 2030 and tell me true or false. 2026 is a crash, or I guess true or false. It's a crash. The gaming industry is looking like 1983, and that's maybe not a great thing. The industry fell off a cliff back then. Revenue went from $3.2 billion to about $100 million over the course of 2 years. Now, obviously, we haven't seen that kind of crash from a revenue perspective, but that 97% wipeout in 1983 was caused by too many consoles, too bad of games, and everybody's attention drifting to something called the personal computer. Now you look at it today, Xbox is dumping studios, everyone and their mother getting laid off, and 90% of all attention is old games instead of new ones. Obviously, we're competing with Netflix, Hulu, and trans media, for lack of a better way of putting it. And some people are saying, 1983 might be happening again. Others say it's not a crash at all. It's just a rotation of capital out of bloated AAA and into indies, more mobile, more Roblox, more Fortnite creative, etc. Obviously, we had Koji earlier in today's episode talking about some of the things that are still remnants of COVID. But I'm curious, from your guys' perspective, put me in 2030. How are we going to be looking on the games industry as a whole, and sort of reflecting on this time that we're going through? Do we think it was a crash or a redistribution? Koji, going to you first.
I'm going redistribution, I suppose, if those are my options. I think that this argument is a bit ridiculous. Like you mentioned COVID, obviously everything you look at the last 4 or 5 years, it's like an anomaly, right? Everyone was just stuck at home with nothing to do. Of course, the video game industry is going to skyrocket, which means we're going to hire a bunch more people. A bunch more games are going to attempt to be made. More studios are going to open, blah, 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 blah. And now that people are fully out in the world and there's more things to do, you're not stuck at home 24/7. These things are starting to implode. That makes absolute perfect sense to me, right? And then we look at some other stuff, right? Look at the music industry, look at the film industry. If the music industry can survive Napster and the film industry can survive streaming, gaming is fine. Gaming is fine. There's peaks and valleys, and are we headed into a valley? For sure. But in 10 years from now, is there, or 20, whatever the number was, 2030 or whatever, is there going to be a peak? Sure. It's definitely possible. I don't think it's all downhill from here. That's completely insane. I think that the way that people game is going to evolve and change, and that might include streaming gaming, an on live situation. If you remember what that is or whatever. But
whoever brought that up earlier was freaking a genius.
Yeah. Or GeForce Now or whatever. But I think that gaming, people want to waste their time with Skinner boxes. It's just no question. Peyton mentioned you look at the things through the lens of having kids now. My kid is just give me the games. She doesn't even care what the object of the game is or whatever. She's just oh, it's a game as opposed to anything else. Okay, I'll just do that instead. Right? So we have that lizard brain mentality in us. Gaming will be fine. It's just gonna maybe take on different forms and slow down and speed up. And we're in a slowdown right now, but it'll definitely speed up before you know it.
I literally have to peel Jackson off of an arcade thing. We go to this ramen shop that's local here, and literally there's a free arcade thing that you play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on. Shout out, by the way. And that he has to be peeled off. I'm like, Jackson, we're going. Hey, Jackson, we're going. Jackson, we're gone. And he's like, oh shoot, where's my dad? You know what I mean? And it's just it's absolutely crazy. Gaming, to Koji's point, is not going anywhere. It might evolve into something that's different. And for example, it evolved to Roblox, right, for the kids. But yeah, anyways, sorry, Sam, wasn't my turn. Oh, wait.
The audacity. Let's go over to Chris Heatherly. Chris, curious on how you see us in 2030. Am I just going to be looking at nothing but a sea of Roblox clones of games that we used to like, or is it going to be something a little bit more compelling than that?
I mean, I think gaming is fine now, to be honest. I just think that AAA gaming is in the shitter. And I think Western free to play is in the shitter. But gaming is fine now. There's more creative indie games than you can shake a stick at on Steam. I mean, you know, you can make a game for less money than you ever could before. You know, there's going to be there's all kinds of wild, crazy shit that comes out that never would have gotten made in the 90s, you know. So I think that in a lot of ways we're kind of in a golden age of gaming, and people are missing it because they're looking at these games from the last golden age of gaming and saying, why aren't those doing as well as they used to? You know, I think it's going to be a completely different world. AI is going to completely change it. I think they're going to be funded in a completely different way. It'll probably be more crowdfunding or some kind of like crypto mechanism. I think, you know, who is a game maker and what a studio looks like. It's probably smaller teams and more solopreneurs and more, you know, more influencer builder types. So I think it's going to change. I think Roblox is going to, or something like it will, you know, will be a lot bigger, and the games on it will look a lot more serious. But look, I mean, you know, the arcade era gave way. You know, a lot of the arcade guys went under, or whatever, you know, Atari and you know, all of these guys from the 80s suffered, and then it went to and then it went over to console. And then there was a fallout during the PS3 era, and then that went, and then you had the mobile free to play era, and every new technology creates new winners, and the losers are the last generation of the last generation's winners. That's just the game of life.
It's always the millennials, man.
Sam, I just wanted to add to my point real quick. By 2030, you'll just be buying perps in the GTA casino. That's what
yeah, bro.
like.
I'll be on a role-playing server buying perps.
While I think everything you just said is correct, Chris, am I wrong in acknowledging that, like, it doesn't feel good? It doesn't. The games industry doesn't feel healthy and good. And my thesis for why maybe that's partially true is because independent people or small teams, in my opinion, have very little chance at breaking out on mobile at all. And most of gaming revenue sits in mobile, or like a huge majority of it. And so there's basically like this entire segment where you hear about people making $4 billion a year on some like slop game that we would never want to play, but there's no real way to intervene there. And then obviously you can't compete in AAA or AA unless you're like at least a reasonably sized studio. And so while, yes, there is tons of money in gaming, it doesn't really feel like there's much money on the table for people to take a stab at. That section is relatively small and closed off to existing studios. Yes.
You're not wrong in saying that. You're just old, man. You're just
I think he is wrong in saying that. But
real quick though. Here's the thing.
Why.
Counter argument to all of this, right? Like, we would have said the same thing about the film industry 5 years ago. Like, Marvel movies are the only thing that's ever going to break through. We're only going to see comic book movies and IP for the rest of our lives. Nothing else is ever going to make money again. And it's either that or like, you know, some art house shit that only gets played in like 5 theaters in the world. but now look at Obsession, right?
Yeah,
like literally the most profitable under $1 million movie ever made, and one of the most profitable movies ever made by some guy who just like made shorts on YouTube and now has captured the entire fucking world. It can happen in gaming too, especially with, to Chris's point, when AI becomes mature enough. Sorry, Knock, go ahead.
I think like maybe directionally correct, Sam, but I also think wrong. Like, a small team doesn't need to make money on the same scale. A team of two, look at the guys who made Mecha Chameleon. Do you think that the two of those guys are happy
exactly
$5 million in sales they've done? Sure, it's not $1 billion in sales like Madden 27 is going to be, but they made $75 million for two guys. I think what you're seeing here is like the traditional corporate lifestyle of like rapid growth, some bloat, some stagnation. You have this crisis, you go through a restructuring, and you kind of reborn. The problem is all of the AAA developers, with the exception of maybe Rockstar or 2K, hit that plateau at the exact same period of time. So you've got a bunch of really shitty games, at least performance-wise, at the AAA level. But you're seeing already the people who are getting laid off at the AAAs come to life with these really incredible games that are maybe making 10, 15, 20 million dollars over the course of their lifetime. But it's only a guy or three guys building this,
and they're making way more money than they would make working for a corporation.
I think what you're seeing is you're seeing a flattening, and you're going to see more games come out from this. Sure, maybe it's fewer AAA games, and maybe that's what you're saying. It doesn't feel as good because there's no blockbuster games, but
AAA and mobile, like these mobile games have become AAA games where it's like you're investing multiple hundreds of millions of dollars into making a mobile game that's just designed to suck money out of you because they know they can make billions of dollars off of it. I can't name a single indie mobile game that isn't just a port, like we talked about Balatro coming over, Binding of Isaac coming over to mobile. Is there a mobile game that was made by not a huge studio that's made even a couple of millions of dollars over the past 5 years that anybody can name?
It's indie? No. Look, mobile sucks. There's no question about it.
Okay.
Does it matter? That's my point. Like, does it matter?
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we're just relegated to these like corners of the internet where like, and that's part of why Steam is being so successful, right? It's like they have the most interesting variety of games on top of anything else. If you go to the mobile app store, you're like, okay, I know what 12 games it's going to feed me because it feeds me them every single time I open it up because they're the most profitable games or whatever. And Steam's willing to give you a little bit more diversity. Robin, I want to tag you in. Go ahead.
I mean, I think the harsh reality is that there are a lot of people that just don't know how to make games and want to make games. And so like there was a lot of inefficient investment. And so the really sad thing is that a lot of those people, that 100,000 or so people that get hired during the pandemic, thought that they were entering a stable industry. And the fact of the matter is that really is a facade, because once that inefficient, money entered the equation, I can count on two hands people telling me about companies that, got $100 million, $200 million, and they still haven't launched a successful game. And now they're just kind of, winnowing down, their runway. So, I think it was a false dream that was sold to a lot of those people. And if you talk to people, Chris, I'm going to shout out to you because you and I are probably the same age. Is like, we know that like it was hard to get into gaming. It was hard to build a game. And then you really had to be an incredible game maker to be successful. And so these folks don't sort of realize that. And I feel bad for people like that. I feel bad for the people at Xbox, for example. But unfortunately, that's just kind of the way the industry has evolved.
And there were no middle managers, and games were made on stale pizza and dreams, and there weren't huge budgets like there are now. Like, yeah, if you're showing up to the party and there's free food and in a commissary and you're getting massages, like, just that's top signal, man. Like,
Chris, how many miles did you have to walk uphill both ways?
In the snow, baby.
The question is, was I wearing shoes?
Peyton, what you got on this one?
It's so good, dude. I think it's going to be redistributed. Robin and Chris kind of talked about this too, and I'm very curious to see how Chris's, things as well too, because he's a scout for venture. But like, I think a lot of the unit economics is going to be changing. Things, to use Tony's term, and that I think it's like going to be very much get a prototype, get into community, see if it's actually going to be fun and going to actually go for it, get the data. And then from there, I just need money to be able to publish this thing. Not so much, hey, we're going to front it and put all this money up there because like you have a good pedigree and you have all that stuff. It's like, no, you have to show me like all of your like pre-game data and all that stuff. And then we're going to take you the last of the way and then be able to connect you into all these publishing. And we're just going to use this venture to be able to give it its best shot in terms of announcement. And I think that's really where the redistribution of capital is going to be going to, at least from a venture side for gaming. I don't think it's going to be seed is going to be out. I think it's going to be more, hey, we're about to launch on Steam. We just need some like advertisement. Can you help us?
I honestly think you nailed it on hit the nail on the head there, Peyton. Like FriendSwap is training the audience to be like, look, the game doesn't have to even be mechanically good. It just has to have the concept has to be there and it has to feel fun. And if that's enough, like we can build something out of it. Which
the
I think
game
is
like the friends we make along the way, Koji. That's the game.
Does that mean the VC still looks like it looks now? I mean, we're already seeing these models come along where it's just financing to run ads. It's like performance marketing and no other part of funding. Like, is that what it looks like, or will I be able to show you a prototype and raise a few $1 million to bring it to market?
I don't think so. I think I've talked to a couple of people that are at venture. That's why I was very curious to hear from Chris. But obviously, looking for a job and stuff like that, and some of the people that I've known are in venture, and they've been talking about that element, and they're raising funds, and mostly their pitch to raise funds is for that, which is at the end stage of it, and be a lot more less risk. Let's just say that, right? Like you can invest into these super pedigree games that have long life cycles, but we both, all three of us, me, Knock, and you, Sam, love Supervive, and they still didn't make it. And back in our day, if that came out, oh my gosh, that would have been a freaking hit. Speaking to what Robin was saying, who's also my MVP.
No, that way to front run the rest of it. So Peyton getting the MVP vote out early. Robin, who you got for your MVP of the day?
I think Knock has just been knocking it out. So I'm gonna, sorry for the pun.
I can't even see it.
What the fuck?
I was doing a whiteboard, Sam. And it's supposed to say Robin. It says Robin. Robin, it says your name.
All right, thank you. I love it.
Knock, who you got for MVP today, bud?
Definitely not Peyton after that. Chris is my MVP.
Oh, thank you.
Who's your MVP, bud?
Mine is Robin.
Robin might sweep it again. Koji, who you got?
I mean, Chris won MVP at the top of the show when he called it Grauman's Chinese Theater. I knew it as Man's Chinese Theater, and now it's like the TCL Chinese Theater or whatever. But he went old school, so he's a film fan from way back. So he's my MVP. But also, he made some pretty good points.
Thank you.
Ageism nudging us in the right direction. Lems, who you got? We have a tie between Robin and Chris. That means you're the tiebreaker, buddy.
Lems, you could do the funniest thing and give me the vote, and we have a 3-way tie.
Oh, Lem says knock. All right, that means I get to vote. I'm going to vote for Mr. Chris Heatherly. Chris, it's been you won the MVP, and I think you've been doing a lot for the show, including bringing the former MVP Robin onto the show, which just bolsters my opinion even more.
And that haircut,
Sam hates women, confirmed. Clip that. Clip it.
60 seconds of FaceTime. Chris, go ahead.
Wow. Well, I just want to thank I'll share my MVP status with Robin and Knock. Couldn't have better company. Thank you guys. I have nothing to shill. I'm vibe coding my mind out. I finally broke some really big blockers today, so I'm really excited, and maybe one day soon I'll be able to ship this fucking app so people can see it. but I've been doing a lot of cool stuff with AI, man. You can really build some cool stuff now. So I just want to encourage people like just jump in and get your hands dirty, because it's this is a really exciting time.
Is it safe to assume that the one and only place he'll be distributing it is the Epic Game Store?
Exclusively, yeah.
Amazing. Well, for your co-MVPs, Robin, Knock, anything you guys want to plug?
Wow, Koji, I guess we're just third-rate citizens from now on.
Nothing for me. I'm just gonna, give props to Chris for his. I got nothing wrong with wise Gen Xers, so I raised my
Thank you.
I just want to point
we
out
have to stick together. We don't have the numbers, so we have to have the solidarity.
Exactly.
Mecha Chameleon, another 6 million sales in the last 9 days, hitting
That's
that 25 million
insane,
mark.
Yeah, I just want to shout out Koji. Koji, I think you're just an amazing individual, and thanks for sharing the panel with me, buddy.
Yeah, I want to argue that Chris could have had a better cohort of MVP voters, and he just didn't.
That's going to do it for number 168. Thank you guys so much for coming back. As usual, we'll see you same time, same place next week.